How's Mr. Carter today?
Just got home
Hey,
from
wow.
golf.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. How'd you shoot today?
Oh, no, coaching.
I know.
I never play.
Ah,
Don't have time. Between running a golf course and 3 schools and coaching, it's just too much.
This is pretty good.
we can begin now. The mayor of Jackman just signed in, so we can begin now.
The mayor's trying to figure out how to do his video.
Should have got a kid. Should have got a kid to help you.
That's the problem. I'm at home.
Mr. Giordano. How are you?
You can watch something if you want. I get this muted. So. I don't have my camera on right now. Just watching the keys.
George, do you know if Rick's going to join?
I didn't hear back from him,
Oh.
and I didn't follow up. I should, but I thought he was going to. He didn't reply that he wasn't.
No. Well, I've got 6:01 here on mine, so my computer. So I'd say we can kind of get started. I don't want to tie up everybody's evening. There's a couple of things I just want to mention to you at the beginning anyway, and I'll keep an eye to try to sign people in if the people want to try to join a little bit later. But George sent out an agenda, which is, it's just a quick listing. There's a couple of items that we need. We need some official action taken on here tonight, and then the rest of it is mostly us just, talking about this upcoming season, what we think, what we want, any messages that we want relayed forwarded to, and who they need to be forwarded to. So in case there's anybody on here that doesn't know me, my name's Peter Murray, and I'm the boys basketball coach in Dexter, and I am the president of the MABC. An item I listed on the agenda was the Maine Basketball Hall of Fame, just mainly to let you know that induction ceremony actually happened this year. So back in August, there was an induction ceremony, and it was, Jamie, correct me, I mean, it was essentially the class of 2020. Is that correct? So the class of 2020, which was held over from last year, they were formally inducted. There was the regular banquet. It was actually held at the Anna Shrine building this year. Dealing with the cross center has been a little bit difficult. So that was back up and running. Okay. Luckily I got in there under the gun of what's been going on lately in this area as far as COVID and those kinds of things. So just wanted to let people know that. And every time we meet, we always try to put a shout out to the Maine Basketball Hall of Fame and let people know that you know, they welcome everybody's support, either from your school or from you personally. It's, you know, kind of a self-sufficient group, and it needs to be supported in order for us to have it. So anybody that's been to an actual event will vouch for the fact that it's a pretty cool thing. So the second item that's on the agenda is the summer conference that George and I attended this past summer, the NHSBCA. So just reminding everybody on here that by virtue of your membership in the MABC, you are automatically a member of the NHSBCA. So George and I attended that meeting this summer in Cleveland. Over the years, I mean, George can speak to it as well as I can, but over the years, we've made a lot of contacts and brought back a lot of ideas to Maine that we've put into practice. And we actually have something here tonight that we want to talk to everybody about that came directly from the NHSBCA meetings this summer. So, George, you wanted to talk about it, or how you want to explain this?
Joe, I don't care, chime in, because you or John, either one of you. But Lucio was just a company that the association has a contract with, and we can contract with them for we're saying for $5 a coach. You can have access to, and if you don't know about it, I can't remember who I was talking with yesterday, but you really need to do some investigating, because the big thing is their whiteboard. Their gives you the ability to draw up plays and make a playbook and things like that. But I spent a couple hours with the guy who was in charge of that, and there's a lot of stuff. If I was still coaching, I'd use it in a heartbeat, and it allows you to put together your playbook, and I'm not sure if just that allows you, or if you have to, you can get a team subscription for $50, and that allows you to put all your players in, communicate with them, send them plays that you want them to know. I have a virtual practice with them. If you need to do that, I want to do that to help them go over your preparation and your stuff.
Bunch of high schoolers.
And it's really,
Yeah,
and
they
it's
just pass that card against everything. Get 2 or 3 baskets, 4 or 5, and they just.
Well, whoever's listed on
That
the
thing was
hand is
at 2
iPhone.
o'clock, I went down.
That was full.
Could,
And
you
it was
could
full.
mute,
The
please?
guy called me, that's why.
so it just gives you a lot of things to have an opportunity to use. The other thing you need to do is you need to go to the association website. They have made it, they have archives of all kinds of people's playbooks and all kinds of plays, all kinds of ideas, all kinds of stuff that I bet a lot of people have never even looked at or accessed. I'm going to try to do a better job at making sure that you have the information on how to access that. But what you can do is, if everyone that pays to be a member of our association, and in the past, we haven't given much access, haven't done anything actually for people who've done teams. Now, if you do teams and you give me their names and their emails, and I need to list them as members and give their address to Lucio, and that will allow them to access all that information. And for me, that would be great for my JV coaches and for even my junior high coaches. The other thing that some states have done that maybe we need to talk about is that they've included the college teams within their state, got them to join our association, pay the dues. And then what that allows them to do is it allows them to access Lucio and to access the higher level programmings, because they do all the major colleges and all the MBA. They have totally connected with those two, and they can get it at a reduced rate by joining our association. And the other one they've done is they've reached out to AAU teams and asked them to join their association. And that gives them the ability by which to access Lucio at a much reduced rate than it would be if they were just doing it on their own. We met with them, Peter and I and John met with them, and they do the website, they do everything, but we've decided that we aren't ready to give up our website. We have the best webmaster there is around, and we're not going to let that go yet because we feel like our voting goes really, really well. We feel like things run pretty well in that respect. So they do have that, and many of the states that we met with and talked with, they loved it, but that's because they didn't have anything in place, and they put something in place. I just feel like we have a pretty good system going as far as how to we get most of our memberships paid, and then we get most all of our coaches submit and vote for the awards that we have. So I think, John, didn't we make an agreement? We're going to keep this set, and John's going to kind of work with them. They're more than willing to work with John, and he may find some things that will work for us throughout the year that we may access. But for now, we're just going to do more or less the playbook and other stuff that you might find that you want to access.
Yeah, if I could just chime in, George, I'm John Bernard.
Yeah.
I do the website for the MABC, and I run the All-Star voting every winter. And what George is talking about as far as the website goes, that's actually included with the package, but you don't have to commit to the website. And I have checked out they use a content management system called HubSpot, and I have checked it out, and it looks like it's pretty easy to use. So I wouldn't rule out not going to that at some point. And the other thing is the voting app that we use for the All-Star voting is really completely separate. So even if we did go with Lucio's HubSpot CMS content management system, we could still do the voting with the separate app that I could do online. So it really wouldn't affect that anyway. Another concern I had that they responded to this week was I had a concern that I looked at all the other websites that different state organizations have, and they had a pretty much a generic domain name. And we have one that everybody's used to, the MABC1.org. And my question was, can we still keep that domain name? And they weren't sure. There had been some problems with that, they thought. But since we've talked back on August 24th, they did get back to us this week and said that, yes, they could do that. We could use our own domain. So I'm not ruling that out, George. That we would go to that
right.
content management system, and it wouldn't affect our voting at all. The other advantage to that HubSpot is you can also use it for all your email lists and submissions, and with George, it's going to be really helpful because he works very hard to get everybody's emails, and especially when it comes time for voting, because we don't want to miss anybody. So we're hoping that this would help him in that regard, make his job a lot easier.
So I think as as George said, I mean, Lucio, the company, does primarily their business with the NBA and the Division I schools around the country. That's their big money item. So they're just reaching down into the high school level and trying to offer state associations something at a relatively small price. And then once people get into the system, and if they are interested in more, then they can on their own contract for other services. So like George said, I mean, there are team options, there are all those kinds of things. So the bottom line is, what it means to us is it means that we have to have a way of paying for it. So what we need to discuss is whether or not it would be worth the MABC raising the dues by a $5 amount in order to cover the cost of all coaches in our association having access to the services that Lucio would provide us. So that's kind of what we're throwing out there. And I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about that, or whether they think that's a good idea or bad idea, or anything else. just for, I mean, I think it's a great idea, but just for clarity's sake, are we talking 5 per person? What does that do if we're talking for the coaching staff? I mean,
What's it-
I'm for it either way, but like I always do one check for my entire staff. Is there a price for that too, or is that,
No, what it would change, Mike, is it would take if just the head coach is going to do a membership, it would go to $40. And if you were doing team membership, it would go from 70 to 75, and that would cover up to 6 coaches, I said, but no one's going to have more than 6. I guess you could do more than 6, but I just left it at 6 like we have left it. So that's all it is, just a $5 raise for each one of those. And I wish my memory was better, but I spent 2 hours with this guy, and what he tells me and what I talk with the people from Illinois who are really big into it, it's amazing what they offer you that's free. Say nothing about what you could get for. He talked me into it. I would have signed up for a team thing immediately right there. I would have done that because the access that he explained to me, that you can have a site where your team is all lined up, all connected by emails, and then you could cancel practice, you could food practice, you could do Zoom practices. In this crazy world, you never know when that might become really important to be able to do that. But then to build the playbooks that people built is just crazy. And it gives you have access to a lot of people's playbooks that I don't think that I have made you aware of enough in order to look nationally, to look what other coaches in other states have opened up their playbooks and made them accessible to anyone who belongs to the NHSBCA. So,
I mean, personally, it seems like a no-brainer. Everything's way more expensive now than it used to be anyway. No one's gonna notice $5 fee increase anyway. So if we're getting this much more, I don't know, seems no-brainer to me.
You say it was Lucio, Lucio.
LUCEO. And you can contact the guy at Lucio's. He is absolutely awesome to work with. And he would welcome. He told me, just tell your membership to drop me a line if they need to. They have 2 or 3 guys who just, that's what they do, is they work with states. They've got them to work with our group. They don't necessarily do as much with the other groups, but they've hired a couple people to work with the NHSBCA's.
Well, one thing that George and I, we're always on the lookout for something to make the membership in the MABC more valuable to you. We all know that McDonald's All-Star is our big event. We all want access to that. We want to keep that going and going the way it's been going. We got it in a good place and we want to keep it rolling, but we'd like to provide more services. So we've been looking into this and we've dug into it, and it seemed like an opportunity to put something out there that would not only be for the head coaches, but for all the coaches at whatever level in your particular school. Myself personally, I've always felt that our dues are low by comparison, I think, to a lot of other sports. I mean, we only charge 35 now as it is. So we're basically proposing that we bump the dues up to $40 and $75 for the team. But that's not something that George and I can do. That's going to require action from this association. So it would require somebody to make a motion, somebody to second it, and then we'd have to vote on it.
Good question. Has anybody on the call used Lucio before, have any experience with it practically as far as building playbooks and those things? We've been using Fast Draw and Fast Model for a couple of years now, and it is exponentially expensive by comparison. So I don't know if anybody had kind of a compare and contrast they could share with a group.
I know some people had said they played with it. I can't remember who they were. But the other thing I forgot to say is if you have travel teams in your district or in your school or whatever, they said that a lot of travel teams are signing up for that because it gives them a means by which to collect all their information and communicate and do all of that. And then for head coaches to be able to suggest this is what I'd like you to teach, this is what I'd like you to do, and that's just another plus that he said is in states that have really done it, big states have done it, they have all their schools lined up as well as their community services programs and stuff. Anthony.
Peter hit it on the nose. I thought for years our dues are way lower than they should be. Doing the athletic director job at my school, we pay them out for different associations and pay them out for different events throughout the year for coaches. And I always say to myself, why, how is it so low and why is it so low? I mean, I would even raise it higher because as Mike mentioned, everything's going up cost-wise right now. I know we're seeing it in our supply line for things. So I don't know if it's maybe if we're going to increase the dues, should we look at increasing it even more just to make sure we have enough money so we're always ahead of the curve, things coming down the road. Because I know my superintendent has not once in 20 plus years asked me, okay, how come all this money is going to here? They see the benefit for the kids, they appreciate it. And there's never a question when I put that in my dues and fees line ever. So I think we should go up a little bit higher, my opinion, just to make sure we have enough for down the road.
Anyone else?
I mean, the next step,
George and Peter,
Yeah.
I have a question. One of my questions that I wanted Andy Graham at Lucio to answer was, I guess the question I asked him when we met was, once the league signs on for this, I said, I assume that there is that's probably more like a beginner's program, a light version of whatever you might have. And is this something that coach is going to have to pay, our school's going to have to pay more to get an upgraded version? And he did say something that coaches can upgrade to a Lucio customer account. My notes don't reflect what that included. Is your memory better than mine on that?
Yes, that's where he said you can go to the team package. You can do, there's about five, I did a little looking again tonight. There's 5 or 6 other packages that you can gather. But he told me that as it stands right now, they have no intentions of raising the price to the association. And you know, and he says, I can't tell you never, because we all know how that goes, that things change. But he said to me when I met with him in Cleveland, that where they're making their money, it's such a good program that the coaches, after getting the whiteboard and the other things that they do, then they're signing up for the team package. They're signing up for the other and sundry things that they offer. So that's where he said they really make their money. And their hook is that they give you access to the whiteboard for $5, which is huge. Like Levi said, if you go by any of the other apps, they're getting more and more expensive every day. In this way, you don't have to do that. You got it. And I talked with him about how, because he knows if there could be some transfer of the stuff that you had on another board, and he wasn't sure. He was going to check, but he didn't let me know. But he thought possibly that their team could take stuff that you might have had from any of the other ones, Quick Draw or those, and help shift them over to Lucio. But I would just encourage anyone that's a least bit interested and find out about it, go on the site. Even I just looked tonight, and if you go on it, it asks you what more you want to know. And if you go on the NHSBCA site, they have a big thing about Lucio, and then they have, if you want more information, I would start there before I went to Lucio, because that gets somebody in our association will talk with you about how to navigate that. So.
I make a motion.
Yeah, you can.
I'll make the motion then that we increase it to $5 to cover that expense, and an additional $5 per individual and per coaching staff for future increase in expenses that might come down the road for increased cost of operation.
So you're saying $50 and $90.
Correct.
Somebody would have to second that.
Second it.
So is there any more discussion about it? So hearing none, I would say a thumbs up would probably do it. If we get a thumbs up for a yes vote, thumbs down for a no vote.
Well,
So it looks pretty overwhelming with the thumbs up, so that will be the case. All right, that's part of the reason why we've been, George has been telling everybody to hold off on dues so that we could have this meeting and set this for this year. We'll get that. In
I
one-
will get the new membership form out tonight because I had several people ask me, so I'll just redo that and I will get that out tonight while I'm watching Washington beat New York.
Yeah. So the next item that's on the agenda is I put that the WBCA, the Women's Basketball Coaches Association, reached out to all 50 states and tried to find somebody within the state to be a liaison for them. And I just want everybody to know that Rick Clark, who is our treasurer, longtime coach at York High School, is that person in the state of Maine. So if you're a girls coach and you have any questions that you would like to see go through, go what the BCA is up to, we have a person and he is local. So just keep
Yeah.
that in mind.
We actually have two people. I can't remember the other gentleman's
Right.
name.
No, I can't either.
I will get his name and Rick has some stuff to share and I will share that with you, the stuff about that. But Rick has been active in the WBCA for forever. He's been a presenter at their national convention 4 or 5 times and he still goes every year. So I will try to get more information about that and put that in an email. And that just brings another thing that John talks about their hub space that they think they have some services that I think that we could hook on to that makes it easier for us to share information amongst members than I have. Right now, I have no problem. If you have something you need, I've had 5 or 6 people ask, they wanted a Thanksgiving tournament or they wanted to do this. Feel free to send me anything that you want to get out to the coaches and I'll just resend it but I'm exploring another way. I know there's another way, an easier way to do that if we go through using some of Lucio's apps, but haven't been willing to scrap everything just to do 1 or 2 things, but I'm more than willing to send out anything that anyone has for emails about wanting either scrimmages or anything you might need except money.
So the next item that's on the agenda is I listed it as the basketball committee and the basketball commission meetings. The basketball commission is going to meet on October 4th and be via Zoom. Usually the basketball committee meets shortly thereafter, either the day after or the next day. So early October, those groups are going to meet. What's going to get talked about, I really don't have any idea. And prior to this meeting, I reached out to Mike Burnham and I asked him, I said, just, that this meeting was going to happen. And I know that people are curious about, looking ahead to the winter and what are we looking at? What kind of a season are we looking at? Is there any discussions going on? Any information that I can share with the coaches here tonight? And basically, they're just trying to keep their head above water in the fall for right now. That's where all their focus of attention is. And if anybody's paying attention to the news, we all know that some games are happening and some games are not. He said that the single message to deliver to coaches is that vaccinations and pool testing are the 2 easiest ways to keep yourself and your team out of quarantine. He said, what we're seeing at the state level is schools that have a high vaccination rate are playing games, and schools that have a low vaccination rate are not. So I don't know that that's not a very specific, terminology, but that's the basic message. Okay. So, just going forward, I mean, I think the intent is to have a season, and not necessarily, and not for it not to be a pod season, for it to be a regular kind of a season. February now to February is a long time, and who knows what's going to happen in between. And we're not even sure what's going to be happening next week. So that's still a big question mark. But I think the intent is to try to go forward as normal as possible. Now, does that involve the cross center, places like that? Who knows? Who knows? So anyway, this would be the time if anybody has anything they want to say or questions they want to ask. I don't know, some of you that are on this call might know more than I do about discussions that you've had with people that might have some knowledge about the season coming up. But if you have any questions, now the time to ask. I will tell you that the last time we met in person with the basketball commission, there was the decision was made that that year we were going to have a video from TJ Halliday. It was going to be via video. Coaches weren't going to have to attend any kind of a meeting, but they were really vehement that they wanted to put TJ out in front of people. They wanted the coaches to know who he was and to get assign a face to him. So we had agreed that the following year that it would be in person. Now that would have been 2 years ago. So obviously that didn't happen. So I'm guessing that this year will be a video again. TJ will put something together and push it out to coaches, and that's what will be the requirement. I think if whenever the next time is that we are able to gather in groups, they're gonna want to do it that in person as opposed to via the video. But just so you know that.
So Peter, maybe now is a good time. The other thing that came out of the NHSBCA's annual meeting is that in 2023, we're attempting to be the host state. We had thought we were going to be the host state for next year, but the association has an agreement that every 3 years they have to go back to Indianapolis in order to connect with the NCAA, whose offices are there. So we go back there in 2022. So 2023, we're looking to host. The big deal that's preventing us from saying for sure that we're going to host is the cost of hotel rooms in Portland, Maine in July. Believe it or not, anything under $400 is almost unfindable. It's just $400 a room. And as I found out, a lot of the other states, they usually like to charge about $200 a person. That's about what they pay. So, but I found out after doing a little investigating, some of the other states had to do the same thing. They had to get someone to underwrite some of the costs. So I'm working with the Maine Celtics as my first little contact is, and we have a pretty good connection because the representative from Indiana was a next door neighbor of Stevens. So he thinks he may be able to help me out with that too. And I've worked with Dwayne Eubanks before on their support of our McDonald's activities. It's changed a little bit because he can't just now say that, yeah, we can do this or we can't do that. Everything has to go through NBA approval now, so that you aren't having illegal contact with athletes and doing stuff. So it's a little more tricky than just getting him to say, yeah, we'll give you money. He has to think about the proposal, and then it has to get NBA approval. So that's where I'm starting. But if anyone has any connections with anybody in Portland or anything, let me know if you think there's anything. And then as we get nearer, I will, we want to put together a welcome basket from Maine. And I think New Hampshire is going to co-host with us. They're going to help with that. So Maine and New Hampshire will put together welcome baskets. So if you have any connections, I know I had somebody, and I have to go back and check, offered, he said that if there were people who wanted to do some hunting, some Maine guide work, that he and a couple of coaches did guide work, and they'd be more than willing to offer that out. And so if you have anything that you know of, or you know friends who would be willing to offer up stuff that we could do, they are all excited about coming to Maine, and it's just a wonderful convention. So I just thought I'd give you a heads up that I'm meeting with the guys at the Holiday Inn by the Bay is where I'm hoping to get it, because of the access to the old port, so that people can in the nighttime take in the old port. So that's just an update, unless if anyone has any objections to that. Before, I know everyone was in favor of hosting the 2022, so I didn't figure there would be any problem with doing 2023.
It's hard to believe that there's a hotel room anywhere on the face of this earth that's worth $400 a night. But the fact of the matter is, Portland's booked up through all of next summer already.
All next summer.
It's all booked. So somebody's got the money and somebody's paying for it. So Portland obviously is a popular destination in July. So, but we'll keep working on that and try to make it happen if we can, because we really would like to do it. So listen, I don't want to gloss over. I mean, we took care of our business with Lucio, so that's good. You'll notice on the agenda, this is an election year. The way it works in the MABC is we elect officers in the fall. The people that are elected would, the torch would get passed at the McDonald's All-Star Weekend. So the current leadership would continue through this season until March, and then it turn it over to the new people. The list of names that are on the agenda that was sent around are the same people that it has been since I've been the president, I believe. So it's myself as president, Jody Grant, and Travis Magnuson as the East and West vice president. Karen Magnuson is the secretary, Rick Clark's the treasurer. Those are the elected positions. George is the executive secretary, which is an appointed position. Travis Magnuson serves on the basketball committee, and Tyler Tracy and I serve on the basketball commission. Those are just appointed positions. So the only positions that need to be voted on are the first five, and that's president, vice president, the two vice presidents, secretary, treasurer. If anybody else wanted to make any other nominations,
Welcome.
yeah, this would be the time to do it. If that's not of interest to anybody, then somebody could make a motion to approve the slate of officers as they've been presented. We can vote on it right now and be done with it.
I make a motion to approve the slate of officers that were presented.
Second,
I second it.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the slate provided by the executive committee. So all those in favor, same thing, thumbs up. Okay, so that'll be the same group for another 2 years. That's all I have on the agenda. I thought there might be a little bit more discussion with regards to the regular season, but is there anything
Peter?
else?
Yeah, Peter, I would say I need a little help completing the coaches list that I have. I think I have about 12 girls teams whose their email popped back to me, and I'm assuming they may have replacements, and 4 or 5 boys coaches. So if you know anyone in your area where the coaches have changed, try to get me the information so I can get them on the list. And when I send out the next email, I'll give you the list of the people whom I don't have email contact for. Maybe they changed the same, or maybe they just changed the email, but whatever. I haven't been able to get email contact with them. And I don't know the number of ones that receive it, but might not still be,
Right.
a coach there. So
Well, I know, and I don't know if Jamie's still on this call or not, but Jamie does that for our league. He maintains a directory for our league, and he's in the process of updating it just in the last 2 or 3 days. And I don't know, there's probably at least 6 or 8 people that are out, and new people are in. So our whole league is pretty significant number of changes. So when he gets that completed, I'll forward that to you. That would take care of the Class C and D teams in the PVC. But if everybody else that's on the call could do that within their league and just reach out, let George know of anybody that you know that's new in your league, that's a huge help.
I have a similar girls list it's mostly A and B in Central Maine. I know, as Peter was saying, there've been a bunch of changes around here. And I think there's still 3 or 4 open spots. So as soon as I know more on that, I'll make sure I
Good.
forward that along as well.
Yeah, that's good. If I get them, see, and I just think it's important to get them because I want everyone to be included, but I think I want to get out, and I'm going to pound out about people checking in on Lucio, because I just think, I know you're busy, but I just think if you take some time to do a little investigating, you're going to find a lot of helpful information, a lot of helpful things to help you coach. I know if I was coaching, there's no way I would use them. I would have the coaching app myself. And it's just, after talking with Andy, it's just amazing what way they have available. So, but I would like that. Any help with that would be great.
Anybody else that has any questions or anything they want to bring up?
Peter, I have a question about Lucio. What are the next steps with them, George, as far as what we can do with them, or when we let them know that we're signing on?
Next step,
yeah.
The next step is that I need to just tell them, I got a letter from them the other day, need to tell them, yes, we want to sign on. And then I have to send them a list of our paid membership. So that means I'm going to have to keep 2 or 3 lists. I'm going to have to keep the one that I have everybody on, then I have ones that's paid. And make sure that when you fill out your membership list this year, sometimes people put staff and they just put people's names. That won't get them anything. You need to put names, and you need to put email addresses that are legible enough so that I can pass them on, because that's how Lucio will communicate with you. What Lucio will do once that we agree, they will charge us for everyone that I put on there that you paid to do. And what they will do is they will send each coach a notification that they now are a member of Lucio and what they can access. So I think it's that simple. But I'll try to talk with Andy maybe before I say anything, just to make sure that I know that we're all on the up and up. And I just tell you, don't miss the opportunity to look at it. And I know 2 or 3 people that tried it before weren't successful, but they have changed. They made huge changes because they had that same experience in some other states. And this new updated version is way more friendly, user friendly than what the first year that we had it was.
So I think, John, to answer your question maybe a little more specifically, I think we're going to have to wait for memberships to come in.
Yep.
And, in the meantime, George can ask them about at what point do we just give you the list that we have? And if others trickle in after that, can we update the list? And I'm sure that that's okay to do.
Yeah.
But how many names do you want before we turn it over to you? So
No, you're right. I will update it every week, because I would imagine there are coaches who want to get paid and want to get access to that ASAP.
Right.
I know I would. So I will make sure that as quick as somebody gives me a payment, I will just go in and add it to my list. And that's easy to do because they keep a running list. So that won't be easy, and I'll make sure that you do. And if you encounter any troubles, if you have any questions, just drop me an email. And like I say, and talk with Andy Graham at Lucio if you have trouble. I have a couple guys that they welcome talking basketball.
And I guess Peter and George, I guess my concerns with the website, I would love it if I could get access to that HubSpot and maybe play around with it and see what it would look like before we actually decide whether or not we're going to move our site
will.
over to that.
So I will, when I talk with him, I know that he'll do that because he said that the day we met, that he'd work with you and set up a time to have you answer your questions. So I'll let him know that you'd like to have some conversations with him.
Yeah, and they've got pretty good tutorials. They sent me links to some tutorials, and there's a whole academy they have for HubSpot. So a lot of it's going to be pretty easy to follow, I think. So
Yeah,
but yeah, if I can get access to that, that would be great.
I'll do that as quick as I can.
Thanks.
This might be a good time just to remind everybody that our primary method of communication is via email. So the reason that you're all here is because through email, and that's probably the easiest way to contact either George or I with questions throughout the course of the year. You have the other people that are on the executive committee. If you'd rather reach out to Travis Magnuson or Jody, they're if they can't answer it, we'll find the answer. So, but email is the important thing. So everybody in your league needs to know that they need to get their email addresses to George. So we got to just keep trying to remind people of that because that's our way of getting information out to people.
John, do you know, John, Peter, we recorded this because some people requested that maybe we could record this. Can that get posted on the webpage?
If it's okay with them, with Lucio, I'm pretty sure I could post a link to it. Yeah.
But I mean, if we just record what we want on our website, if Peter sends you, I don't know how that works. If he sends you the recording, we can list it on our website.
Yeah, I think they gave us a link to the recording, so it would just be a matter of me setting a link on our site to the recording that they have online.
Okay.
I believe that's what they sent us.
Because I think if we can do that, I'm going to tell people that they need to go to MABC 1 to listen to the meeting. For two reasons. I don't want to screw it up. That's my major one. But the second one is I'd like to get people going to mabc1.org. It would be good. It would be a good way to maybe get some people to get on the website.
Yeah, just to clarify, you're talking about the meeting that we had in August with Lucio?
No,
not
we're
this
talking
meeting.
about this
You're talking about this meeting.
This meeting.
Tonight's
Oh.
meeting.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, definitely we could I think it's a good idea to put a link to this meeting online.
Yeah, so Peter, you can send that to John and he'll do that.
Okay.
Sounds like a deal.
George, one other question I had, or one comment, they also mentioned there may be the possibility of doing payments online. I don't know how coaches feel about that, if that's something we want to discuss down the road, but is that something that would be an issue if you were given the option to pay online, or do you need purchase orders for those things? Or I'd like to see some comments on that.
I can only say what I know from experience, John, because I run restorative practices conferences and stuff, and schools that want to send their people to me, I have to send them a purchase order.
Right.
So that's why I right now just soon leave it the way it is, because people just take them and they send it to me. Plus, I think you lose $4 or $5 for each membership.
Yeah, whatever Stripe or whatever service
Stripe,
they use.
yeah, and I think it's about $4 or $5.
Okay.
But those are all things we can. I love where we're at, so that we can play. We're not over committing. We're just doing stuff like Peter said, so we can give you coaches some stuff, and then we'll see what else we can get. It's amazing. Their menus are amazing. It's just unlimited.
So anybody else have anything for the greater good? If not, I would say, thanks for joining, and we're easy to reach, so feel free to reach out anytime if something comes up between now and the start of basketball. If there was something important that I thought everybody should hear about, then I would put out word for another Zoom meeting that we could, they're easy enough to do these things these days. So if I don't see you, then have a great season. Hopefully we'll have a somewhat normal one.
Right. Thanks and like I say, use me if you need something to communicate with other coaches. Just send me what you want me to send to them and I will. Not a problem.
Thanks for all your efforts. We appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll see you
Yep.
guys.
See ya.
Thanks.